Good morning and welcome to Let's Play Every Day. I'm Tim McNiffen. Every day I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming influencers from Minnesota's sports, business, and entertainment communities to take on the sports talkers of the day. Let's Play Every Day, sponsored by, of course, our good friends at Northern Lids. For the finest in custom patch hats and knit hats, check them out at northernlids.com. Simply the finest hats that money can buy. Before we meet our distinguished guest or panelists for the day, I want to apologize for missing yesterday. We had a bit of a health scare at the McNiff household. I'm happy to report everything is fine. Everything's going to be good going forward. And I want to thank those of you who reached out and asked where we were. Thanks for looking for us. We appreciate it. It's on me, incumbent on me, to put together a better plan going forward. So it's not like it's either a show or it's not. I will work on that. I apologize about that. And I appreciate your support. Joining us today, we do have, as you can see, Willi Myles, former athlete, college coach, and a working stand-up who is best known as America's everyday comedian. Heather Rule is an author and freelance journalist whose content has been featured in MN Hockey Mag, Redline Sport, Breakdown USA, Sports Engine, and the Star Tribune. Darrell Thompson is the president of Boulder Options, an innovative organization focused on healthy youth development. He is, of course, also the radio analyst for the University of Minnesota football games. And back with us again this week, who is in your top five? Here's an opportunity for you to get involved in the conversation. Now, I really struggled with this one because I really wanted to go negative. I wrote this positive earlier the day on Sunday, wanted to go negative after watching the football game on Sunday night, and stayed positive. I'm asking for your top Minnesota Vikings running backs of all time. And yes, fullbacks are eligible for your list. And if you want to participate in this and give us your top five, reach out to me on the comments page. I will do my best to share them. I may need my influencers here with me today to say, hey, Tim, check the comments section, because sometimes I forget to do that as I'm listening to the people who are here opine about what we've got. So if you want to share with us your top Minnesota 5 running backs of all time, we'd love to have them. We will share ours a little bit later in the half hour. Social media, still trying to deal with what happened Sunday night, the Vikings' disappointing performance against the Dallas Cowboys. Willi Myles, you were there. I saw that on social media. I was like, oh, he's at the game. And then I'm like, ooh, he was there. So what was the vibe there for that and heading out?
It was it was like watching the Titanic. You know, it's like you saw the iceberg, you saw it come. I mean, could
you yell at any time? Iceberg dead ahead.
Exactly. I mean, you saw it, and the boat just kept rolling right toward it, man. And it was just like, I don't understand what the outcome you're looking for, because I can tell you, I've seen the movie. We're gonna sink. This team, and I've said it before, and I'm gonna say it again. And I don't see what people keep seeing that I'm not seeing, and I'm looking as hard as anybody. I want to believe. But at some point, this team is not built to perform under pressure like that consistently. They're just not that kind of a team. And you just saw it from that first drive was, I knew that was, I'm telling you, and I'm not trying to be, the bearer of bad news, but that was just a fluke. It was too easy. I'm like, no. Dallas ain't this bad, you know what I mean? And they just marched down the field and made it look easy. And then at the end of the day, it got tougher and tougher and tougher. And I don't know, man. It was watching the crowd just get deflated at the end of the game. And I told my wife at halftime that this is going to go down to the last drive. And she was like, and you don't know my wife. And that was hard for me to say to her, because she's a diehard Viking fan. But she's like, how can you say that? And then when 2 minutes to go, she looked at me and went, they better not come to a field goal. I said, yeah, it won't get to that. And sure enough. And I mean, and I felt bad for him, man. But I looked on that sideline and there wasn't a lot of hope there. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is with this team, man. They're not built for this type of, and it's not going to get easier from the next few games.
No. The Vikings have a well-documented history of underperforming in primetime. Well, okay, across the board, but especially in primetime. Here they were coming off the bye and facing a quarterback who had never started a game in the NFL. And I allowed myself to believe that we're going to win. Heather, judging by your social media, you seem the most unaffected by the Vikings loss. I wonder, as a native Minnesotan, how do you manage to stay afloat? How do you not go down the stupid path that Willie was talking about everybody else going down, that I still go down every Sunday?
Well, your first mistake was allowing yourself to believe in the Minnesota team. So, I don't know. So the Wild game I went to, they faced a goaltender that was making his NHL debut, and of course they made him look awesome. And that's not the first time that's happened. So as soon as I heard about Dak Prescott, I thought, okay, well, here you go. Here's your chance to make him look awesome. So part of it on Sunday too is I was wearing out the last channel button because I was watching what could have been the last baseball game. I was watching the World Series with the Braves and Astros. So that was part of it. I didn't watch the entire Vikings debacle because I was watching the 4-hour baseball game too. So I was trying to keep an eye on both games. But one of the things I thought of too was because I saw your tweet, Tim, you said I'm done. And I think that's a common thing that Vikings fans say a lot. And I was thinking about it, and my I'm done moment came when Gary Anderson missed a kick and Denny Green took a knee. And because I jumped on the bandwagon 15-1 season, I got really into it. And then, I talked to my dad, who watched him not show up for 4 Super Bowls and get frustrated, 2 decades before that. And I watched the 15-1 team. I watched that Super Bowl just go away. And I thought, well, why am I going to get so frustrated about this and have it ruin my day? And that was even before I started really getting into my sports fandom too. So I just kind of try to not let it ruin my day and my week. And I follow the team. I always say I'm just kind of a casual observer. I don't know. It's I don't know. I will say it is fun to be on social media with games like that, because it's just, you just see everyone, you commiserate with the misery, and you just see everyone just being so upset and frustrated. And yeah,
you're in a good place. Don't stray from that. And I can't get to that place. I try, and I keep going back. The things that you love don't necessarily love you back, right? DT, the Vikings forced 2 turnovers. They gave up none. They benefited from a disparity of penalties against the Cowboys and still managed to find a way to lose that game. For an impartial observer, if you are impartial, such as yourself, was that performance every bit as embarrassing as I feel like it was? Because every time the Vikings are on national TV, I feel embarrassed because they never, ever show up.
I think it was partially embarrassing, and also just like, and I feel like there's just different generations. You can't lay this on Bud Grant. You can't lay this on, Les Steckel and Dennis Green. So, I mean, it's a whole new group of guys out there, similar at the University of Minnesota. So you're always, thinking, and I lay this squarely on the offensive and coordinator of this team. I watch, like Willie talked about that play that they threw the touchdown to Thielen. Wonderfully schemed play. Wonderful, they fake it out into the flat, then Thielen kind of their eyes are in the wrong place. They throw it to Thielen. He gets across to the face of the defender, gets in the end zone. We need to see that more than one time per game. That's not like a rocket science. He's a very, very smart person. He watches 50 times more film than I watch. I'm just watching the game, and I might run something back once in a while. I'm not watching it 100 times and grading every single play, but they can do better schematically than what they did in that game. That was the one play where they out schemed them. You should out scheme someone at least 3 or 4 times a game. You kind of catch them. Oh, hey, this guy always does this. This guy always does that. Let me try to take advantage and put him in. You know what? Worst case, run the same play to the opposite side, or run the same play that you scored on again, just because it worked last time. Sometimes we're going to run 28 stretch until they stop 28 stretch. Whatever that play was, fake that thing out there, and we're going to throw it across. You know what? If they take it away the next time, so be it. At least run it one more time to the other side or to the same side you just ran it, just to see if it's going to work one more time. But just to kind of, force your quarterback to make that many decisions, I think it doesn't work. And then you get to what you have right now is like we used to have the stop and pop with the Timberwolves. I can't remember that guard who they called stop and pop, but now it feels like Kirk Cousins is check down Charlie. That's what we got.
Boy, and the Cowboys were just lighting up those running backs. I mean, I was just like, stop. There's going to get somebody hurt. It's just one game. But as Heather said, I put it out there the other night on social media. I put 2 words: regime change. I am done. And I just can't see giving these guys any more rope. But Willie, judging by their history, I don't see Ziggy Wilf or his brother making a change during the season. I'm not necessarily saying that they should, but what should be going on with this organization right now, not at the end of the year? Because we just talked about the schedule is only going to get more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Danielle Hunter is out. They're not going to get better. It's not going to get better if they're not going to change coaches, if they're not going to change general managers. Organizationally, what should they be doing?
Prayer. That's about all. Look, I've said this before, Tim, and you've had this tandem together of Spillman and Zimmer. I'm never happy about someone being fired, but that's part of this industry. If you're not getting the job done, it's time to move on. And this program is not working. It's not working from the day that they started it together, and it's not going to get any better. I said this at the beginning, I think, of the podcast. When we first gave out how we thought this team was going to finish, I barely had them over 500, and that's what they look like. That's what they play like. They have those spurts. But this team needs a defensive coordinator, a real defensive coordinator. Somebody, just like what Darrell was talking about. We can't keep running the same defensive scheme every time, but we can't keep running these weird plays that ain't working. And then you got these checkdowns. It's like there were so many plays where I was looking at where the receivers were wide open. And it's like, who is the spotter sitting next to the coordinator that's not telling him, look at this. This is wide open. Dallas did it all night. All night. They ran like 3-4 plays in a row. The same, literally. They threw it, then they ran off of it, then they threw it again. It was the same play. But at the end of the day, the Vikings somehow can't see past their own mistakes. And they're so predictable on first down, second down, third down. And they got themselves in third down and long. And we just don't have, and I'm going to say it again, the guy that we have at quarterback, because I refuse to say his name, this is what he does on big games. This has been his career, his absolutely career. He'll throw you for 4,000 or 5,000 yards every year, but at the end of the game, end of the season, what do you get from it? You know what I mean? And in the big games, he folds like a cheap tent. I'm sorry, that's it. And they need to change some things, period. And whether he needs a new offensive coordinator to design an offense specifically for his type of game, because I don't think this is it.
Well, Willie just brought it up. Kirk Cousins, 25 of 35 for 184 yards, 25 completions for 184 yards. Almost without exception, everything Cousins threw was a check down of some sort. The Cowboys were all over it. Speaking of over, Heather, we had that brief honeymoon with Kirk Cousins where suddenly it was like, oh, he's the first half MVP. And I'm not pointing fingers, but if I was, I'd be pointing at myself as the one who's saying that, But the honeymoon, it's over again, right?
Oh, yes. I had actually forgotten for a second till the other night that there was that MVP talk. I had to remind myself, like, yeah, Kirk Cousins, weren't people talking about him being the MVP? And that's what we saw from him tonight. From what I did see of that game, it didn't look like a good football game. And as much as, Dallas and the officials to some extent were trying to hand them the opportunities or hand them, here you go, like, get in the end zone again, besides that first drive. it didn't make a lot of sense, some of the play calling and some of the decisions. And I flipped over just in time to see that play at the end of the half where you're making a mistake, leaving a timeout on the board because you're running out of time. And I don't know what the deal was with that. If he said he couldn't call a timeout or he leaves to the coaches or something, which I thought was strange. Like, I don't know. It's one of those situations. Sometimes I watch games and I'm thinking, or my dad will say this too, like, these guys get paid millions of dollars and that's what you just did. Like, so I don't know that, there was that. I know Adam Thielen's comments got a lot of play too about letting teams hang around. I mean, as embarrassing as the game was, and everyone talks about how frustrating and terrible it was. I mean, to me, it seems similar to all the rest of the games this year in the sense that, no team ran away with it. I mean, the Vikings are, they're always coming down to that last drive. Okay, get a field goal, overtime, whatever. I mean, it's, when are you ever going to get up by a few scores and, grab the game, not have it come down to the last drive or the last couple minutes. And yeah, the pass is what I think I saw. What Justin Jefferson was only targeted 3 times, I think too, which also seemed like an issue. Like, why are you not using these receivers that you have? And the play calling too, second and long, third and long, okay, let's run it for 5 yards, when you got a 3rd and 12 or second and long. So it's, yeah, and those numbers too, the 25 passes for 184. I mean, that's just
not going to get it done.
What are you doing?
Yeah, not going to get it done. All right, the Gopher football team, better news. They just keep rolling, 4-1 in conference play now, alone atop the Big Ten West. The operative word for the 6-2 bowl eligible Gophers, in my dictionary, boring. I love it. Despite losing redshirt junior back Bryce Williams for the season to a lower leg injury, the Gopher ground game produced another 300-plus yard performance, second game in a row, controlling the ball for more than 40 minutes. Darrell, you were there. Has boring ever looked more beautiful than watching the Gophers play keep away from Northwestern last Saturday?
No, it was some old school football. It was some, kind of Bronco Nagurski, Marion Barber, the mid to early 80s, that type of game. But I mean, you're gonna, you want to get a W at the end of the day, and you want to have success. So I mean, obviously we'll take it, and the chips are falling our direction here for a change. So we'll have to. The next 2 weeks are really key, though. I think that it's super duper. It's a really big deal what happens against Illinois and Iowa here in the next 2 weeks.
Well, here we go. Iowa, 2 weeks down the road. It's Illinois this week, Willie. We've done this before. We get caught peeking down the road. But there's no way the Gophers are going to stumble at home this Saturday against Illinois, right?
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you, Tim. I'm on board with this program now. After watching what they did down in Northwestern, because that was an easy game to fall asleep on, and I think he may have them on the right track right now. And I think, like you said, they're down to a couple of running backs. He's deep at running backs, obviously. I don't know how you can have 17 running backs on a squad, man. The next guy is just, I was wrong about Potts. It was like these guys are just as good. I mean, they come out and they pound and ground, you know what I mean? So, no, I'm on board with them, man. And I hope they have a target on their back now. That's the problem. When you move to the top, everybody wants to knock off the top. The good thing is that you got this game at home, and you got a team that's struggling, that's coming in, and you can't, just like Darrell said, you can't get caught peeking. That's the worst, and that's what like we saw it again on Sunday. You don't let people come in your home and just extend a stay. You want them to leave. You want them to be ready to pack up at halftime. You want to run that score up so they'd be like, we ain't even coming out for the second half. We ain't ready for this. And that's what I think the Gophers are going to have to do. And hopefully PJ is getting into these guys' ears that don't start just because we bowl eligible. Don't relax, because we can just be going to a bowl game in North Dakota. We going to the Cow Chip Bowl or something. But at the end of the day, you gotta keep pounding and grounding just like they're doing right now. And I think this team they're determined now. You know what I mean? Thinking they got depth at that running back, because that could ruin a team if you don't think you have enough depth But as long as they got a guy back there that can, and make the offensive line look really good, no matter who's back there, they making holes for them. You know what I mean? That gives those guys confidence. And then, and the coaching too. How do you call plays? It depends on who you have behind that quarterback. So this is a big game. It's a pivotal game. I think if they win this game, then I think they're ready for Iowa. But they can't look at Iowa right now. They got to look at the other eye. Just the original eye, not the eye of the hawk. Just
one more week. Yeah. Well, after dropping 2 or 3 on the road in 3 of their last 4, the Minnesota Wild, they're back in action tonight. They host the Ottawa Senators at the X. Matt Zuccarello and Rem Pitlick still in COVID-19 protocol. Jordan Greenway, Alex Goligoski, both dealing with undisclosed injuries. Heather, what is the biggest problem for this team right now? The loss of trusted veterans, underperforming superstars, or the fact that they can't stay out of the penalty box?
I'm going to go with the superstars, the star players that are underperforming. That's the biggest problem. Ryan Hartman is leading the team in goals right now with 4. And that's nothing against him. He's a great physical player on the team, but it's a bigger indictment of the fact that you got Kaprizov that has no goals in 8 games. He leads the team with 6 assists, but he has no goals. Fiala has 1, I believe it was opening night on the power play. And I know that's gotten talked about a lot lately because they're not scoring. And even Eric Sneck, who had the hat trick in the home opener, that's all he has. And I think he has 1 other assist. So those guys aren't scoring, and they're supposed to be scoring. Especially, Kaprizov, they threw all this money at him, signed this deal for the rookie. And, it's kind of like goal watch now. Like, when are you... And the game the other night in Colorado, I think it was Fiala in particular, he had a few chances right around the net and he couldn't bury him. And which is, something we've seen over the years just as a general theme with the team. But, he puts 1 or 2 of those in, that maybe changes the complexion of the game a little bit and gets their confidence up against Colorado instead of having the result that they did. And, you have people blaming the officials for what was... it wasn't the greatest call later in the game with a fight that they didn't call a fight, but that's not why the Wild lost either. So you got to have those guys scoring goals, and special teams is a part of it too, because they're not ranking very well on the penalty kill or the power play. But I think it's tougher too when you start a season with certain slumps like that, because like last year they started, their power play was 0 for whatever it was. I mean, it was god awful. And I think somebody pointed out, if this happens like in the middle of the season, you don't necessarily talk about it as much because, maybe you've already had some success there. But when you start out like this with Fiala and Kaprizov, and obviously they're pressing, but Kaprizov too, I don't know if they're trying to get too cute about it. There's times where I have to kind of remind myself when he's out on the ice, because he's not as noticeable as we're used to seeing him.
We need them, that is for sure. Across town, the Minnesota Timberwolves played host to the Orlando Magic last night, which meant it was a homecoming for Magic rookie guard Jalen Suggs, who had more than 300 friends and family in attendance. Despite losing guard D'Angelo Russell to a sprained ankle, this game was close until the 4th quarter, when the Magic just outscored the Timberwolves by a smidge, 43-19. Put the game on the line. Darrell Thompson, I wrote this to you last night because I was like watching the game. I'm like, Orlando looks like they have a pretty good team. And then I get on social media and then I start reading, and they were 1-6 going into that game and had not been playing well or shooting well. It's just, again, clutch time. Minnesota can't make a basket. A Minnesota team can't deliver. The other team does. Sort of like what Heather was talking about. We seem to specialize in making people look good. I mean,
Hey, how did we look against Milwaukee last week?
Good.
Exactly. So I mean, we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think we have something with Edwards. I like him a lot. I like our young guy. I think he's a hunter. We've been like waiting around, like trying to get guys, and I like Cat and I like everyone, but I think we have something with him. He's someone that he's not worried about the competition. And that's most people are worried, and he's not worried. So I think that we have something with him. Yeah, I mean, the Orlando's gotten exciting. I was just looking them up again. They got Cole Anthony, and they got Mo Bamba, and they've got the other guy, from Michigan, Franz Wagner, and of course they got Suggs. So I mean, they've got to figure some stuff out for them. So we're young.
Yeah,
They're
rookies.
super young. Yeah, they're super duper young, and guys that didn't hardly play at all in college. So I mean, and I think you do need to play some college. At least hopefully 2 years or 1 year, but. There's some guys on their roster that hardly played any, so it just takes time to figure out. An NBA is it's professional. You're playing with men, so it's a chance. It's similar with what Heather's talking about with the Wild. Say when you start playing, Kaprizov's playing with men now versus he's not skating around with the, it takes a minute to all that to settle in and for you to be ready to play. It's a long answer.
Cole Anthony, I remembered him beating them last year with a buzzer beater, and my thought at the time was, he looks like he just walked over from Lifetime Fitness. He doesn't look like an NBA player, and there he was last night hitting 4 3-pointers to start the fourth quarter, still looking like a guy from Lifetime Fitness. I'm just like, what? Where do these guys come from? I
used to play ball at Lifetime Fitness, 20 years ago. I used to, get up there.
I was at Bally.
Yeah, Bally. That's pre-Lifetime.
That's pre-Lifetime.
That's right.
I'm not saying you guys. Man. Maybe you guys need to be over with the Wolves, because if the Gophers have an audition for tailback, you guys can go over and play guard for the T-Wolves.
Oh, too. They got many more. There's one they're not even going to unveil. Coach Fleck said they still have one more to unveil. Maybe they're recruiting him. I don't know who he is, but they got.
Better than Marquise or the other guy,
Kai Thomas.
Thomas, because they are.
Derek,
I'm telling you, but man, those kids are good.
Oh yeah. No, he's got one more down the pipeline. He's keeps them uncovered.
We'll have to talk. I'll be texting you later. Who, what? I should look back at who signed where. All right, you guys. Willie, I'm telling you, we got roughly 4 or 3 minutes left to do who's in your top 5.
I learned my lesson, Tim. Get off me now.
All right.
I thought I had time.
Here we come. Who's in your top 5? And what we're talking about today is your top 5 Vikings running backs of all time. And I'm telling you right now, yes, there will be your least favorite top 5 Vikings of all time at some point, but not this week. We're keeping it positive. Willi Myles, your top 5 running backs of all time. Here they come.
My top 5 is from my number 5 is from my hometown, Ricky Young. He was a very versatile running back, run and receiving and blocking. Number 4, my buddy Ted Brown, who was just downtown Ted Brown. If you're inside the 2-yard line, give it to him. My 3rd, Robert Smith. Man had a stride. It was out of this world. Loved watching him run. Number 2, the legendary Chuck Foreman. Nobody did it like Chucky Dougie. And then you got the number 1, and I don't care what nobody say, AP is the best running back that ever played for the Minnesota Vikings, period. Hands down.
Hard to argue that one.
I'll fight.
Is this your favorite? So here we go. Heather Rule. Heather.
Yeah. So Bill Brown, Adrian Peterson. It's my list. I don't,
That's right. There's no wrong. It's okay. Don't let Willie scare you.
I looked at the numbers and I was
Willie, you threw her off her game, threatening to fight her.
I think I never loved for Heather.
Yeah, the guy. I don't know. I didn't really care for the guy's personal issues, so I don't know. Anyway, Dalvin Cook, Chuck Foreman, Robert Smith was my number 1 because he was the running back when I was on the bandwagon as a fan. So
that's how it works.
All fine choices.
Those are great choices.
DT, I went with Darren Nelson. It was tough between Ted Brown and Darren Nelson at number 5 for me. That's why I went with. Then number 4, I went with Bill Boom Boom because of his touchdown. He was tough. He smoked cigarettes before, during, and after games. So I'll give a guy credit for that. Number 3, Robert, because I think he was a tremendous long strider, great running back, great vision, great patience. Adrian Peterson, I put at number 2 because I think he is number 2. And then I put Chuck Foreman number 1 because I think Chuck. You can't compare. Well, you can't compare different backs of different eras. If Chuck played today, he would be Alvin Kamara. He'd be Dalvin Cook. He was so far ahead of his time. People don't forget he played actually defense and offense and receiver and running back at Miami. came here, they said, well, we're just going to have you as a back. He goes, no, I'm much more in the back. I come out, I can catch it, I can run the option route, I got the spin move, I can run the handoff. He could do it all. So to me, Chuck is number one. Adrian, if he didn't have brick hands, he could maybe be number one, but his ability to catch the ball is about as good as my ability to catch a ball with mittens on right now in the backyard.
Just stop. Don't make it personal.
And my list.
Look at Pro Football Report and say, "Do you want to?" I don't think they're scared to throw him a screen.
Well, and I still vividly remember Teddy Bridgewater calling audibles and having to walk back to Adrian every time and say to him in his ear, "You block 56 or you block whatever." Adrian was that. And you know what though? One of the nicest guys I've ever met and interviewed. And I know he's got issues wherever, but man, every time I went over there to talk to people and I had to talk to people, Adrian was a great guy to talk to. So that influences you, right? When you have to deal with them. So my top five, Billy Boom Boom Brown was thrilled to see him in a couple other lists. The flat top haircut, Bill Brown and Dave Osborne were, you hear thunder and lightning, thunder and thunder. That's what they were back in the late 60s. And then all of a sudden the Vikings draft Chuck Foreman. I'm like, wait a minute, we could have this guy? You know what I mean? I like that guy. You know, it was such a revelation, but he played special teams. Great guy. You know, so Dalvin Cook, I put him in there at 4, you know, just because he is who he is. And seeing you guys put Teddy Brown, you know, in there, I'm just like, and Ricky Young, yeah, I probably should have. I don't know, you know, because I love those guys. Teddy Brown, what a great life he's had. The influence he's had on young people after his, we should have him on this show to talk about all that he has done as a mentor for young people since his time as a Viking. Robert Smith, the long strider, lightning in a bottle. If you gave him a crack, he'd hit it and go. Adrian Peterson, the draft day, I made my daughters and my wife stand there when the Vikings were up to draft. And I said, if they don't draft him right now, I'm going to burn every Vikings thing I own on the spot. So you see me doing this, you'll know this was premeditated. And of course, they drafted him. And thank you. Great, great player. I still have my Adrian Peterson fat head on the wall downstairs, not going anywhere. And finally, Chuck Foreman. I was 10 years old when they drafted him, and also he came to the Vikings. And then I vividly played a game, you guys, where I thought I could be Chuck Foreman, carried the football like this, and I fumbled 3 times in the same game. And I had an old school coach who said, if you ever carry the ball, you'll never touch the football ever again. So that was done. I could not spin and I could not carry the ball like this. Chuck could, I could not. But beautiful back, great guy, changed the game so much. And I think back, Darrell, to that time. So I'll throw another name at you very quickly, Lydell Mitchell. Yeah. Because they both came in the league at the same time, right? You had Lydell Mitchell in Baltimore and Chuck Foreman with the Vikings. I couldn't wait till Monday Night Football to see the highlights of Lydell Mitchell, to see what he did. Nobody talks about him anymore, but the same type of guy. Different build, but man, so exciting with the ball in open space.
Yeah. That's
there
good.
You go.
A good list. Yeah, but I mean, we had 2 to 3 people in the same list, so that was really good. I think, you know, I just went old school because I was here in the early 80s. I came here in 78. So watching, you know, Ricky was from my hometown. I watched him all the way through college and everything. So
Walter Payton's roommate in college.
Right, exactly. My sister went to school with them. So a couple of my sisters did. So yeah.
Had set the record at the time for most reception in the season by a running back. Yeah. I mean, it was great back. Yeah, no.
Yeah. And Teddy Brown, I watched him. He wasn't a very flashy guy, but he was good. He was a hard runner, you know. So that's why I put those guys in there. And then, you know, I mean, I had nothing against, you know, Dalvin Cook. I mean, he's just not he's not my top 5 right now. If I had to do top 10, he would be in top 10.
He didn't make Darrell's either. You didn't put him in your top 5. Darrell?
Yeah, Darrell made it personal. He wouldn't have to break hands.
I think we maybe have a connection issue there. Well, that's our signal we've gone over anyway. So thank you guys. Thank you for playing as you always do. I so much appreciate it. Big thanks to Nick Gross and Northern Lids for your continued support. This is, of course, Let's Play Every Day, part of the LPSN, the Let's Play Sports Network. Thank you for watching or perhaps listening. Have a great day. We hope to see you right back here tomorrow morning for another edition of Let's Play Every Day. And when given the opportunity, either sit on the sideline or just watch on TV, when you have a chance to play every day.